Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the cryptocurrency market generally through the lens of Total 2, and we are going to be taking a look at and updating you guys after Friday and Saturday's events on some of the altcoins that we have given price predictions for, where we're currently at, and where we may or may not still be heading. And the first thing for me to say, to kind of get this out of the way of and not keep anybody in suspense, is that I am still very bullish here on the cryptocurrency market. And I think when we go through these charts and we certainly apply something like stage analysis to them, you will come to the same conclusion. Largely, Friday and Saturday's events haven't really changed our overall macro view on the markets, albeit a lot of volatility that's been introduced in regards to the geopolitical tensions that we've seen break out on Friday and Saturday. And if you don't watch my daily market updates, make sure you go and do so, because there's some really weird things going on, certainly with the gold markets and the kind of fiat systems. And there's a bit of a fight, a bit of an internal fight going on there. But what I want to do is introduce you guys to something called stage analysis. Now, stage analysis is a method that I have fathered in regards to technically identifying a market. I believe if you can understand the charts, you are going to outperform your peers, and you are going to have a better understanding of where a market is at and where it is likely heading. And what stage analysis does is it breaks the markets down into 4 stages. This is a method that we have had huge success with, coupled with things like Dow theory, traditional technical analysis, trend following and trend analysis, Fibonacci analysis, and so on and so forth. And we're going to be doing some of that in this video, relating that to some of the altcoins we've given price predictions for. And the interesting thing is, we believe across these altcoins that we're looking at, and many more out there, we are essentially in what is now a stage 2. And when you first enter stage 2, you often get a very deep correction or a very volatile pullback that brings you back to a 30 weekly moving average, and sometimes will bring you back and retest support, also coupled around where that 30 weekly moving average actually is. And what you're going to see as we go through Chainlink, HBAR, ICP, DART, and ADA is that they all are doing exactly that, even despite this pullback that we've seen that's been largely driven by geopolitical events that crypto has seen the brunt of, being really the only market that trades over the weekend. We are still in good standings, in our opinion. And I want to kind of start, before we dive into all that, in regards to the Total 2. So this is the altcoin market. This is the altcoin market cap. So it's everything in crypto excluding Bitcoin. And I want people's assessment on what they think about this chart. For me, this doesn't look like a bad chart whatsoever. In fact, it looks relatively healthy, and we could still be, despite the events that have taken place over the weekend, setting up for broader continuation that is going to see the cryptocurrency market nearly 4x in terms of market cap. Some of the altcoins that we're going to look at today are going to be massive beneficiaries of that, and we certainly think we have the technical premise, the technical backdrop to support that, along with the macro one, and so on and so forth. And this is kind of a summing up, if you will, of the altcoin market and its standing. Now, of course, we don't want to run that left shoulder. However, still to this day, we have not, and we have seen buyers come in and take advantage of this. We are going to be in for an interesting week, certainly when the traditional markets open up on Monday. So let's talk about our first altcoin, which is Chainlink. Now, some of these look significantly better than others. So Chainlink is still a coin that I'm about 100% up on, so maybe I can sit here with a little bit more comfortability, even regardless of this pullback. And Chainlink, since it entered what we believe is an uptrend, really hasn't had any kind of a major pullback up until recently. And I want people to remember what took place before Chainlink really had its kind of epic run to the upside. You had this real volatile price action. This, of course, was caused by March 2020, but you can see what then occurred. And it's interesting for me to note and to raise this, that actually, if you look at these charts and where we are, you really need to let the dust settle. So even though we still maintain that bullish bias, there are things that we wouldn't want to see moving forwards. We need to see strength come in. We need to see a bit of a basing, and then a resumption of the trend that we still believe that we are in. So we had identified an inverse head and shoulders here for Link. You can see we do have the range. Again, this is where we were doing the majority of our accumulation. The break of that range is on volume. With this inverse head and shoulders, you actually didn't get that much volume on the break, but albeit it was very much respecting, we did expect it to bounce off here. It went the other way due to sort of headwinds in regards to the broader markets and the kind of geopolitical landscape, which of course we've seen over the weekend. And you can see it's obviously lost this support level, which was your neckline, and it has had a very, very deep retracement. It did actually run, or certainly wicked, below this high, which is not a great sign, but the important thing really is that you do not close below this high here. Oh, sorry, this low here. And since we've kind of fallen off a bit of a cliff here, we are actually finding a little bit of support. So what Chainlink really needs to do is kind of bottom out here and then resume the trend. If it bottoms and starts to go lower, certainly closing below here, then we are looking at an entire validation of the potential $63 price prediction that we have. But still, even regardless of this pullback, from a macro perspective, from a weekly time frame, I'm not too worried particularly about this chart. Certainly when you give the context of where we think the total 2 is at and still heading. If we look at Hedera, KuCoin is a chart that we really shouldn't be using because the only wick that actually ran this low was on KuCoin. We'll show you that in just a second. But for the purposes of this video, we did have this double bottom that was broken on momentum, on volume. And since then, you've kind of lost support and you've fallen, slipped through it with the rest of the cryptocurrency market. But look at where you are currently holding. You're interacting with that 30-weekly moving average, which is very common. In a downtrend, typically in a stage 4, you want to be below it. Then a stage 1, which is a basing phase, you want to be sort of going indecisive with it. You want to be going up and above it, and it kind of flattens out. And then in an uptrend, it starts to uptick. And we are still, I believe, in that uptrend, but in an early and volatile stage of it. The bulk of the bull market is still to come, and we have a lot of technical merit to support that. But it's very important that it is actually holding this 30-weekly moving average and certainly not closing below this low to kind of invalidate the trend. If we look on a number of other exchanges, you can see the low actually didn't come below, even with the wick, the prior low. If we look at something like Coinbase, you know, there's a lot of, and this is why altcoins get hit off as hard as they do. It's very much because they're a very illiquid market that doesn't take a lot to kind of slip below. So we are still looking at HBAR through a very positive lens. I think this is one of the most promising cryptocurrencies to ever come out of the cryptocurrency space. And we will be doing in-depth videos on each and every one of these. But when you look at this and the kind of bottoming that we're seeing here, you're seeing that short volatility supporting all around the 30-weekly moving average, certainly holding it. We're not closed below it. There's nothing to be worried about just yet. The real test is going to be what happens next. If we look at something like ICP, this is or probably one of the stronger charts that we're going to show you today. You can see that this is very much supporting and respecting the uptrend that it's now in. Had a bit of a pullback, found support. This is likely going to continue to march to our $24 target, which we weren't that far off the other day. We got to $21. Remember, we were calling this pre-break. And we are likely going to see the resumption of this. We haven't seen anything yet. When you look at, we haven't seen anything just yet when you look across the board to kind of make us deviate from the broader plans that we have for these altcoins, and they all look to be in the same position. If we look at DOT, this is a little bit more of an ugly one. We do have what could be an inverse head and shoulders. It's not great that you've wicked below this low, but you are currently residing, and we want to see that close above it and supporting around the 30-weekly moving average, which is very much what we expect. With crypto, you have to give a little bit of nuance. We're going to take a quick look at Cardano, which is probably, in my opinion, the weakest out of all of these charts. And you can see it is currently consolidating just below the 30-weekly moving average. So we really need to see a move up today. We don't want to see a close below any of these lows to really invalidate the breakouts that we were looking at. But generally, when we assess the overall market, the important thing now is what is to come. So we need to see these charts put in some strength. We need to see some sort of a bottoming structure. If we look at Cardano, it actually, just to use this as an example, very much looks similar to what it did in the previous cycle. So you can see you have this big drop, you have this kind of point of consolidation, you run up, you drop, then you consolidate, you support the 30-weekly move average before testing off of it. And we still think the bulk of the bull is to come. And actually, I do believe at this stage anyway, that this is just a major shakeout to prevent the little guys from moving their own financial needles. So what I'm going to do is during the week ahead, we're going to be getting a lot more technical on each and every one of these charts that we've given price predictions for, really homing them in, looking for what's to come next. seeing what we can apply technically, and seeing if everything is still intact. And like I say, where we sit currently is we are still very bullish on the cryptocurrency space. I believe largely what's taken place over the weekend hasn't affected things too much, but the real telltale signs are going to be what comes now. That's all from me, ladies and gentlemen. Just a bit of an update, a bit of a voice of reasoning in perhaps what is a very volatile and uncertain space. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a smashing Sunday, and I will see you all in the next one.